Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you've been here before but haven't subscribed yet, well, please do so. Please do so and turn on a notification bell so you are alerted when I drop videos like this. This is a random video that I'm dropping. It's actually a video that I was working on yesterday to post, but we had some big news that dwarfed that, which was the RJ Barrett re-signing. Well, extension. The contract extension for 4 years, $120 million, up to $120 million. But this, as you can see down below, I've been toying around with an idea that could solve all of the issues that 4 specific teams have. I know multi-team trades are near impossible. They rarely happen, but a few happen every, like I would say about 3 or 4 trades like this happen every year. Not like this big, but where there's multi-teams involved. Sometimes as few as just 1 or 2, but this could be the one. Because there are still things in place. There are still teams negotiating, and there are still teams that have needs, but they can't solve those needs with just one other trade partner. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to explore that for you. We're going to have fun with it. It's an idea. It's just something to put something out there and see if it sticks. But before we get to that, also hit the thumbs up buttons and drop your comments. I'm going to be curious to hear your thoughts about this trade idea. So let's just recap some situation here. As you can see right here, well, let me go here. Here we go. Stephen Bondi tweeted this out. RJ Barrett's $107 million guarantee means he has the biggest contract in Knicks history, just surpassing Julius Randle's guarantee 106 and Jalen Brunson's 104. Carmelo signed for a larger number, but it was over more years. Interesting. So our highest draft pick since Patrick Ewing now has the largest, biggest contract in Knicks history. Good for him. I'm still very excited and happy that RJ has extended. There's been a lot of speculation that maybe possibly he still might get traded for Donovan Mitchell. I have a hard time believing that's the case. Why complicate the whole negotiation by extending RJ and then having the poison pill provision instituted? Doesn't seem to make a lot of negotiating sense if you are still willing to trade RJ. When in actuality, I do believe that Leon didn't really want to trade RJ, but he felt, you know what? Okay, Danny, if this is what you really want, then this is what, to get RJ, this is what we're willing to give you. He gave Danny a deadline Monday night, and deadline passed. Danny balked, and Leon did what he was going to do, and he extended RJ. So I believe that this was a ploy to just remove RJ off the table, not as a means to get him, still be able to figure out a way to get him to Utah, because this only complicates it more, in my opinion. But let's keep going. Steve Popper tweeted out, he wrote an article today, Newsday, Knicks still covet Mitchell, even with Barrett out of deal. Knicks have what the Jazz want, a surplus of first-round picks and young, low-cost players. So that's the thing. Knicks still have the best offer for Danny Ainge and the Jazz in exchange for Donovan Mitchell. That's just the reality of it, but it doesn't mean that it's an offer that Danny's willing to take. We know that the 2 unprotected picks is just not going to be enough, which is why in this 4-team deal that I've constructed, Danny's going to get a boatload of picks, boatload of unprotected picks. That's going to make him feel so good. It's going to make him feel like he won the trade. But in reality, all 4 teams win this trade. And I'll explain it. But before we get to that, here, NBA Trade Report, an aggregator, puts out sources. Knicks and Jazz making progress on framework of a deal. This was tweeted out this morning. That does not include RJ Barrett. Headlined by Quentin Grimes and Obi Toppin. Now, that's sad. It's a little sad for me. I like both those guys tremendously. You guys know how I feel about Obi Toppin. He's as a starter, he's a guaranteed 20 and 8 guy. Quentin Grimes, I see him as a Klay Thompson light type of player. Gives you the perimeter defense. We saw some great playmaking in the summer. And the man can shoot a three-point shot like the best in the league. So that's going to be tough. But like I said, you have to give up something. It's got to hurt a little bit. You got to give up something to get something. The Knicks chose RJ over Grimes. That's just the reality of it. And that is the right decision in this case. I do believe that is the right decision, especially for this type of team. And then lastly, NBA Central tweeted this out. The Lakers would have interest in Cam Reddish in a potential 3-team deal that sends Donovan Mitchell to New York, per New York Post Mark Berman. I read the article. Definitely should read the article. I retweeted it for you guys, so definitely check it out. It's a very interesting article. Mark basically states the deal is not over. There's still a possibility for something to get done. So let's look at what is the rationale behind this 4-team deal I'm going to propose, which you can see down there. It's a monster 4-team idea between the Knicks, Jazz, Suns, and Lakers. Yes, the Suns. We all know the Lakers have had interest in Cam Reddish, and the Lakers have a desperate need to improve that team so that they can compete next season. And they're not going to do it with Russell Westbrook. So it does involve Russell's contract being moved. So let's get to this next slide here. Here we go. So I did some research. I was researching the Suns and where they're at right now because they missed out on Kevin Durant and they have some issues with the way that team is constructed. And as you can see, even Suns fans believe it to be so. This is from heavy.com. It may just come in separate moves. Perhaps they were proposing trade ideas, and Julius Randle was one of the major pieces of interest for them. So this is what I'm saying. This could solve some issues for the Knicks as well. It's going to cost though, but it's going to pay off in the end if they could pull this trade off. On August 23rd, 98.7 FM Phoenix radio host John Gambadoro tweeted that he's been hearing rumblings that the Suns are looking to make moves heading into the upcoming campaign and that acquiring a post-up power forward is what they have their sights squarely on. Now, that's what Julius used to be exclusively back in Lakers days and the first season with the Pelicans. That's what he was. He can go back to that. He needs to go back to that. His three-point shot, it left him. Even if it returns to some degree, even if it returns to a 36% clip or 37% clip, it's not something he should do at a high volume. He needs to get down low and use his strength and speed to get his buckets. He'll even have to do that on the Knicks also, by the way. So this is something he's going to have to adjust regardless. And the Suns need that. They desperately need that. Here's the tweet. John Gambadoro, Suns. Here. So, hearing the Suns will now turn their attention to try and obtain a post-up power forward. They have the cap payer exception still available to them. Excellent. And then AZ Central Sports, the Arizona Central Sports page, they put out a poll. It was a vote. Should the Suns attempt to trade for the Knicks' Julius Randle? And then they asked the question, how would he fit? What would trade cost Phoenix? 78.7% of Suns fans said yes. Trade for Randle. Now, here's the other beauty about trading for Randle, and I've said this before. A change of scenery can totally reignite a player's game. So, I believe that if Randle gets traded, whoever will be receiving him will be getting a player with a new focus, an added determination, and a desire to want to prove himself again. We're talking about a guy who has a big ego. So he's going to want to prove that being to the Knicks, if they trade him away, that you made a mistake, right? And he's going to want to reward the team who's receiving him to say, you did the right, this is who I am. I am one of the guys. I'm one of the leaders of a good team, of a contending team. This is all about psyche with Julius Randle. We know he's got the ability. We know he really should live somewhere between, his stats, between his career stats and his All-NBA stats. He has it. It's in him. So they'll be getting a distressed asset that can easily shake off that negativity and become a very positive impacting player on the court. The problem is that in New York, it'll be more difficult because he's come up with these guys. He was the leader of that team at one point, and now he's being pushed down the totem pole. And that's difficult. It's difficult for anyone to swallow. So it's easier to do that sometimes when you go to a new team. All right, let's get to the next thing here. All right. So here's some. I just perused the internet. Just what are some of these trade ideas that they were talking about? This is just a direct trade between the Suns and the Knicks that these publications were proposing. NBA Analysis Network, which is always fun for some crazy trade ideas. So I just threw this in here. The Knicks in this scenario receive Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet, a 2023 first round pick. And the Suns receive Julius Randle. So it just shows the kind of players that they're thinking that could be available, that the Suns could be willing to trade for someone like that. So Jay Crowder, Shaman, and that they would be willing to trade a first-round pick, the 2023. So here's another idea from Heavy.com. Considering Phoenix's current inflated cap situation, they'll obviously need to ship out contracts that combined fall somewhere in the ballpark of Randle's salary, which holds an annual hit of $29.2 million. The framework of a deal could look something like this. The New York Knicks receive Dario Saric, Landry Shamet, Torrey Craig, a 2023 first-round pick, top 20 protected they threw in here, and a 2025 first-round pick swap, or the 2024 second-round pick. So a swap, a pick, and a swap. And the Suns get Julius Randle. So this is interesting. And then over here, someone else tweeted, Suns are better, tweeted this out. If you're the Suns, Julius Randle is your best option currently. He's your best ceiling raiser, and now is your chance to buy low. He gives you the shot creating and rebounding that you need. That's true, they need rebounding. And if the Suns are great at anything, it's getting the most out of their players. So there you have it. There is their fans, their reporters, that's their argument for acquiring a Randle. And now let's go back to this again. Look at this. 78% feel that they should get him. Even 10.6%. Only 10.7% of the people polled here, 1,300 votes, said no. Only 10%. 130. Only 130 said no. So there's an overwhelming appetite in the Valley of the Suns to acquire a rebounding, shot-making, and playmaking power forward like Julius Randle. Okay. Well, now before I get to the 4-team trade proposal, I'm going to take you through the whole rationale of why I picked this. I mean, it took a while to construct this thing because sometimes I had a deal that worked, but it only really worked for 2 of the teams. Sometimes I had a deal that worked for 3, and one it didn't work for the 4th. It has to work enough for all 4. It can't be perfect, and there might be a team that it works better for than another one, but it still works. Like, it might really improve one team dramatically, but at least it gets another team out of a difficult situation that they're in. So have that patience in mind when you guys look at this. I mean, I had an interesting time doing it, and I believe that this might have some real merit. All right, let's get to it. Here we go. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Here it is. In fact, let's just go to the big screen. Okay, here we go. Basically, Danny Ainge gets 5 first-round unprotected picks. 5 and 2 additional protected first-round picks. So he gets a boatload. That's the boatload. 7 first-round picks, 5 unprotected. 2 of them come from the Lakers. 1 of them comes from the Suns. 2 unprotected come from the Knicks, and 2 protected come from the Knicks. So those are the 7 picks. So Danny gets his wish. He gets the most picks. I think this would be the most picks ever given in a trade. I think. Not 100%, but definitely the most unprotected. 5s. first. That's tremendous. The Knicks would have to swallow the Russell Westbrook contract. That is the key aspect of this. I tried to do it differently, could not figure out a way to make it work. But we get Donovan Mitchell, and to make the salaries work, because it's very complicated with the salaries, Torrey Craig would have to come to us, but he's only on the books for one more year at a $5.1 million. And he's serviceable, and maybe we can flip him. The Suns, they get Julius Randle, they get their power forward that they need, and they get Clarkson. That's right, Clarkson. They need someone, another shooting guard who create his own shot. They don't really have that. It's shocking when you look at their roster. They don't have a guy like that. And they desperately need it, especially those times. I mean, look what happened with last season to the Suns. They need someone like Jordan Clarkson. And then the Lakers. The Lakers get rid of the Russell Westbrook contract, and they acquire one of the top 5 best three-point shooters in the game, Evan Fournier, and they get a defensive small forward / power forward in Jay Crowder. He's a small forward who can spread the floor. So he plays defense, spreads the floor for you. Plays defense, spreads the floor for you, and then they get Cam Reddish, who they covet. We just saw that they covet. We've heard them. They were trying to get him in the last trade deadline back in March. So they get a young player in Cam Reddish, because also, and probably in actuality, most importantly for them, they get Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose would be fantastic for that Lakers team. And I really believe that if he stays healthy, he could lead a team deep into the playoffs. Look what he did with the Knicks in that one crazy miracle season. If he had been the starting point guard, I do believe we would have been able to get past Atlanta. I believe that. But either way, in this scenario, the Lakers get out from under the Westbrook contract, and they acquire, a sensational point guard in Derrick Rose, whose three-point shot has, come on of late. He's shooting at a high, I think he's shot 40% in the past couple of seasons. Evan Fournier, tremendous. Jay Crowder, tremendous. Look how the floor spread. All 4 of these guys can shoot the 3. 2 of them can drive. And, and Evan Fournier makes tough 3-point shots. Like, I could see, at the buzzer as the clock is winding down and LeBron can't kind of get the right shot for him, he can find Fournier for one of those crazy shots that he makes from the corner. They're tremendous. So this would I believe this would make the Lakers at least a top 4 team in the West. And if things go right and they stay healthy and the chemistry gels and LeBron is excellent at helping that along, who knows? This team could even maybe get to the Western Conference Finals. Now we come to the Jazz, which is the key to this. The Jazz would get Quentin Grimes. The Jazz would get Cam Johnson from the Suns. So they get that youth. 2 players. Well, Cam Johnson, the guy can shoot the 3. He's a scrappy defender. He can drive, though he needs to improve on that. But he is a player with a lot of upside, and he's young. He's young, and he's only on the books for one more year. So they can figure out what to do with him in terms of, well, they have a team option with him there. And then Quentin Grimes, who they covet, who's a perfect fit for what Danny Ainge is looking for in terms of rebuilding that team there. And partly to help with the salary filler, but it also gives the Jazz some youth. Danny Ainge gets the B version of Marcus Smart, what could be potentially the B version of a Marcus Smart in Miles Deuce McBride. I believe Miles will have a pretty decent career in the NBA, and but he's not going to be a Marcus Smart at this point because he doesn't have the size, but he definitely has the ability to defend hard, especially point of attack defending. He can shoot the 3. It's coming on. In Westchester, when he went to the G League, he just owned that league in those years. So he would be a nice extra piece, an extra young piece to get for the Jazz. And then remember, 5 unprotected picks for the Jazz and 2 protected. They're going to be inundated with picks there. And then they have to make the salaries work. They have to take Dario Saric, but he's only on for the books for 1 season. And who knows? They could, the Jazz could even turn around and flip him for something. So there it is. I want to hear your thoughts about this. Now I'm going to explain a little more about why Russell Westbrook to the Knicks is a good idea. This is the way I see it. Let me go over here. This is the way I see it. Russell Westbrook's contract, he's only on the books for one more season. So the Knicks eat the contract and pull a John Wall type situation. But next year, his salary becomes available. The Knicks will now have free money to be able to add another free agent to this team that will have RJ, Donovan, Brunson, and hopefully Obi will have stepped in and taken that position that Randall had and really develop into that player that we believe he can. You know, IQ will be running the second unit. This could be a very interesting team, and depending on how the pieces fall, the Knicks may be able to swing a deal for that other type of superstar next summer because they'll have the cap space available to do so. So bear that in mind, and they'll still have their 2 unprotected first-round picks available to them, plus 2 more protected picks available to them to make a deal. And here's the thing. We get out from under the 3-year Fournier contract, and we get out from under the 4-year Randall contract. I mean, you can look at it again. Here, there it is. Randall's on for 4 years, Fournier for 3 years. Now, the Fournier is really just 2 years because the 3rd year is a team option on Fournier's contract. But still, 1 year earlier to have flexibility when it comes to free agency next summer. And the Suns get to put themselves back into contention. I mean, they would be in contention regardless, but their team got exposed last year, especially in the playoffs. Even though they had the most wins in the regular season, we know regular season and playoffs are very different. We suffered that pain in 2021 playoffs. I remember that too clearly, too painfully. And the Jazz get what they want. So I'll be curious to hear everyone's thoughts about this. The Knicks, we trade a total of 6 players. We get back 3, but one of them we're going to cut. But we hold on to Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly, who are, you know, I love those guys. I want to hold on to those guys. I believe they have a tremendous upside to them. They have a high ceiling. And, I mean, it'll give us the ability. We'll have depth. We'll have depth, which is what you need to really go even deeper in the playoffs. I think we could be a 6th seed and potentially surprise a few people. And who knows, when it comes down to the trade deadline in March, some other things might develop. This could be the deal. This could be a kind of deal. They're hard to pull off, but this is what I'd like to see. I want to hear what you guys think about it. And, you know, drop any other ideas. I mean, if you think, because I was thinking about a 3-team deal, but I desperately want, if Donovan Mitchell's coming to the Knicks, we have to get Julius Randle off the Knicks. It's too many guys that are going to be Super Bowl dominant, and it's going to create a lot of difficulty actually on the court, and I believe off the court. We may even have a repeat, like a worse repeat of what we had last season with Randle and his fragile psyche. Maybe fragile psyche is the wrong term, but you know, his ego issues that he had to not be the man, the main guy anymore, especially in New York. It could be tough for him. So this is a nice way. We have to. I mean, I've been wanting to trade him anyway. So this is a way for us to move him without necessarily attaching a pick. It's the beauty of it. Okay, thank you for watching this. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, hit the thumbs up, and drop your comments. And I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.